Hey, this is the introductory video for a sketch for Norns called Turntable. You can find it in Maiden, on the Lines forum, or on my GitHub. Turntable is a sketch that tries to get all of the functionality of a record player without becoming a full DJ app. Let's talk about some controls. So as the sketch says, we can use key 1 and key 2 to load a file. In this menu we use encoder 2 and key 3 to make selections. There we go. We use K3 to stop and start. We can use key 2 to put our hand on the record and pause it. We use encoder 3 to do a small nudge. This is the kind of nudge that you would use to sync two tracks, to make small adjustments to the position. Key 2 does a medium nudge. That's what that sounds like. And if we use K1 and E2, we get big nudges, so we can really move quickly through the track with that one. I've got quite a small file here that I want to loop, so I can hold K1 and press K2 to toggle loop. That's shown in the bottom left there. And I'll show that all three of those nudges work while we're playing. Of course, with any record, we want to do a backspin, and that's hold K2 and press K3. You'll have noticed the waveform display, and we use K1 and E3 to zoom in and out of that. There we go. And that's nearly all of the basic controls. So now, why don't we look at some parameters? You'll find these in the normal way on Norns. You need to get to the parameters window and we'll choose edit. Now the parameters for turntable are split into three groups. We've got stuff that affects the turntable, things about the crossfader, and a few others. So let's make adjustments to the RPM. If we play the track, and we can change the player and the record RPM. So now we're playing a 45 on a 33 1/3 speed. So as you can hear, there's a bunch of different permutations of that. Slow players and fast records and slow players. As you can hear, there's some pretty big changes in speed that are possible with that. For smaller changes in speed, we can use the pitch parameter. The pitch fader is here on the screen, and I actually forgot to mention that you can adjust that with E1. Whoops! But of course, because it's a parameter, you can also do that in the menu just there. Next up is turntable drive, and that sets how tight the record player movement is. With higher values, the record playback is looser. It takes a long time to spool up. Let's get the pitch back to where we were. So you need a long slow down on that. And a long backspin. And then if we have low settings of turntable drive, that's much more like sort of digital playback, so it's pretty instantly goes in. This can also be really good for small movements, for scratching and stuff. Got pretty much instant speed changes with that one. We showed you how to toggle loop before, but that is also available in the parameter menu. And there are a couple of other parameters that are kind of linked to looping. And it's this warning timer here. So when that is on and when loop is off, we get a little warning when we're close to the end of the track. It's the one thing that when I looked at DJ apps, I thought, okay, maybe we need this. So if I scroll to a particular place, so when we get within 10 seconds, you'll see we get this flashing. That's to let us know that we're quite close to the end of the track. And you saw us setting the warning timer number. That's how many seconds before the end of the track that this flashing will start. And finally, in this last section, a couple of parameters that we've looked at outside in the main controls, but that we can also set using the parameter menu. Cool, there we go. Cool, in this third section we'll look at using turntable and another sound source. That can be another Norns running turntables in this thing. And we can crossfade between them using any MIDI controller. So just now we scrolled past the parameter for crossfader position. So to set that, we'll go into the map and then fader position, and then learn, and then move our MIDI controller. I've got a fader here. And now that should crossfade between the A source on the left and the B source on the right. Now that second source, it can be a Norns running turntable, or it could be your phone, a keyboard, any sort of other input that you can bring into Norns. So that's the fader position. We can also control the fader sharpness. So this is how quickly the crossfade happens, basically. If we go back into the parameters, there's our fader position that we're controlling. And we have sharpness as well. And there's a few values for that. And basically the bigger the number, the more sharp that crossfader kind of position is. So the crossfade will only happen as we're right on the edges of the crossfader position. And just like in a regular DJ mixer, higher values are better for scratches maybe, and the lower values here give a smoother crossfade that's better for fading between tracks. One final thing that's in here is equal power crossfade. That's a toggle. And with an equal power crossfade, when the fader is in the middle, the idea is that it's the same loudness overall when the two tracks are blended as when the fader is at either end and you're just hearing one track. And what you'll find when the fader's in the middle is that when it's off, things will sound louder, and when it's on, tracks will sound quieter. And you can pick and choose there. Anyway, here's some scratching. Kinda. So there you go. If you have any thoughts about Turntable, please drop into the forum post online. Cheers.